Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? It's SCL0320 representing JVS. Just want to give you guys a quick heads up. I just got out of a screening to see Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron. To be quite honest with you guys, so when I was in San Diego Comic-Con, EW, or Entertainment Weekly, they had like a influential women of icons, and Charlize Theron was actually featured in it, and they showed some of the different things that she had done over the years, and then they showed this intricate fight sequence of her and Atomic Blonde. And the thing about the fight sequences that was so interesting to me was that I could look at it and I was like, man, this complements something like Jason Bourne, like on the level of like, man, this looks like a real legit fight that is like a no holds bar. It's not comedic, it's not PG-13, like it's just real and visceral, like emulating like fatigue, like using whatever you can to fight, disarming, usage of weaponry, and it was just amazing. So the thing about it for me is that I look at like John Wick, that's just a gore fest, like fun time with guns and fighting. This one is actually a really good spy and espionage film that I was really surprised by. Like, I think in the very beginning of the movie, I was kind of like, oh, this is going to be like a train wreck. This is going to be like this is what's going to happen here. I'm going to be able to predict what's going to happen to this character. And to be quite honest with you, I wasn't able to predict anybody's character. Like, every single character had moments where it really just threw me. And I was really surprised that that actually happened, because I honestly was thinking these were going to be kind of one linear characters or kind of bleed into some kind of stereotype. But to be quite honest with you, Charlize Theron's character, to me, more so mimics a James Bond in a lot of different ways. I think that she was able to play to this form of this character that, I thought that she was one way and then she was another. When I doubted her, she like excelled. And I think that was one of the things about James Bond, like especially old school James Bond. Like when you think, the hero, is in a situation where he's been compromised, or, the villain has the upper hand, like he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the things I loved about Jason Bourne films. A lot of people said that Jason Bourne films are more, better in terms of like spy and intrigue than even some of the 90s, Pierce Brosnan, James Bond films. I think that what they were able to do with Daniel Craig with Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace was really great, specifically even Skyfall. But later on, as it went forward, it kind of like lost that, grit of like hand-to-hand combat and like intrigue about like getting over on the villain. It was more so like playing to the Bond villain, as it were, and seeing whose performance would outweigh what. But to be honest with you, James McAvoy and Charlize Theron played off each other well. Like James McAvoy's character, I really could not peg him at all. Like from the jump, like I was like, I don't know, to trust this character, like this character, love this character, or what. Her character, I knew for a fact, like, she is a force to be reckoned with. One of the things I think Charlize Theron does really well, is the fact that she's able to have this stare and gaze that I'm not even able to predict. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you look at her and you're like, can she be trusted? Is she sincere about this? And like, there's this like look on her face that's like, man, I don't know, and I think that I love that about her character. Some other notable people are like John Goodman, some other actors. The chick that was the main villain in the Kingsman movie, and in the last Mummy movie, she was in it. She did actually a really good job this time around. This time around, she didn't do as much on the action side, even though she's actually a really well-trained martial artist, which kind of threw me a little bit. She actually did more along the side of the acting side. Like, I think she did a really good job on an emotional beat. Her and Charlize Theron had some really, let's say, intimate moments that I don't condone for a PG audience. This movie was rated R, you guys. Like, there are headshots, there are like people maimed, there are like moments that just like, wow, that really kind of happened. There's one moment that happened to James McAvoy that was so hilarious that I can't even talk about it. But even with Charlize Theron, like I said, that one fight that I was kind of telling you guys about, dude, that goes on for a minute. And like the thing about the fight that was crazy to me, it looked legit real. Like I'm sitting there watch her like head knock up against this wall, and then she like did something to this one guy, and I'm just like, yo, that is real. And so for me, I actually thought this was a really legit movie. Charlize Theron did it again. She might actually have her own franchise out of this, because I think the movie takes place in the 1989 time frame. So there's a lot more story that they could actually tell with this. And I think what it does is succeeds where Man from U.N.C.L.E. failed to do, bringing you into the era and making it cool. Like, this was very much so a 1980s kind of vibe. And the soundtrack was legit. Like, I actually dug everything they did with the soundtrack. I thought the soundtrack was great. Like, the 80s music that they used. One of the things I was gonna say is that what was that last movie that I saw that had a really dope soundtrack? Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. It was one movie I seen recently. It had a really good soundtrack. Oh, Baby Driver. Baby Driver had a dope soundtrack. And to be honest, Atomic Blonde actually rivals it. Like, I love the soundtrack to this movie. So, it had all the cards. I think it's an enjoyable time. I thought it was a really well done story. And the thing is, like, when you think the movie's about to end, you know how like they kind of like wrap things up in this like really bad way, you know, and kind of just like they just kind of muffled that together. No, by the end of the movie, I'm not talking about waiting after the credits, I'm talking about the end of the movie. You should legit continue to watch, because you are gonna be legit surprised at what they're able to actually do. So I gotta actually focus. I gotta go, you guys. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Love you guys. Keep me lifted up in your prayers, and I will talk to you soon. Peace, everybody.